question actually. Someone asking striker nerf when.
Danny was the person who asked.
And I think it's honestly it's an interesting discussion because I mean obviously striker is an outlier. I was actually looking at data today, and I think it's something like 25 or 27% of the player base is using striker. So obviously that's yeah.
I just got mine. I've been 1 year without using striker.
Oh, the panic. What's up, agents? Welcome back to another Division video where the hot topic around the community right now is, are they going to nerf striker? I have seen this absolutely everywhere, even though I have been on my summer vacation. I actually missed covering this stream. I only caught up with it yesterday when I got back. There was a lot to actually listen to. This stream for a casual stream was actually quite crazy, but the hot topic was this segment right here right now. Let's just finish off listening to the rest of it before we actually look at a dev response from a couple of hours ago. They've actually given us a response because obviously they've probably seen the huge amount of statements around what you're about to see.
I use for the storm event.
And honestly, you know, the set like should be nerfed. But on the other hand, it's like, I mean, then that means we have 27% of our players that are going to be pretty upset about it. And I'm sure, you know, smart people will tell us, well, then buff everything else. Yes, we can do that. But we've tried already. And, you know, no matter how much we buff, it's not just a matter of power. It's a matter of how simple it is. Also, striker is just very much like, you know, do what the game tells you to do. Shoot on things and you get more powerful. Yeah. You don't have to do anything more than that. So it's just the mix of the power and simplicity that makes it so efficient. Yeah, we've not, until now, we've not, you know, pulled the trigger on nerfing striker because I think there's value in having a kind of like a simple set that is the no-brainer that you want to go for. I think we need to do better at providing better alternatives, and that doesn't mean necessarily buffing everything, but maybe really looking at different playstyles and how do we make also those no-brainer options for different playstyles. So it's really a tricky one, and I hope we can find a better solution rather than just nerfing striker. But it is a problem, honestly. I can tell you there are people on the team that would love nothing more than just nerfing it.
I see a question about a dye bug apparel.
And there we go. So we'll let that kind of just play on in the background. They don't really talk about it much else. But before we look at the response, I'll kind of give what I think my take is. Now, Yannick's exactly right in what he is saying. A lot of people run strikers, not just because it gives us a lot of damage, it's also because of how easy it is to create that damage. You literally point, you literally shoot, and that is it. When we have other sets in the game that have you jump around, hop, skip, jump, touch your toes, touch your head before you get anywhere near that maximum damage, you know, the torso and things like that, strikers is clearly an outlier. Although we have had a competitor come into the game very recently by the name of Tipping Scales. Tipping Scales is absolutely brilliant, and all I see that if they do nerf strikers, from my point of view, everyone will just go to Tipping Scales, which arguably will lower build diversity a little bit because Tipping Scales is really just an LMG set. Yes, it is usable outside of LMGs, but at its core it's an LMG set. That's what it was built for, and quite plainly that is the best set, or the best archetype of a gun to use with it. So people will just move to that. Everything will become much more of an LMG meta. We already have quite an LMG meta already at the moment. I think a lot of people probably just no-brain LMGs anyway. So arguably if they do nerf striker, they're just going to cause themselves the same problem again with Tipping Scales. So do they need to do better with other sets? Yes, they do. And if they're going to do a revamp of gear, and they did talk about that a little bit, which is a little bit concerning considering the moves that we've had into prototype recently. So there's a lot of gear investment there, people that have actually taken that on. And if they move into the realms of doing like a pass for balancing and things like that, arguably you kill people's hard work that has not really easily been obtained. You would kind of say before that moment happened, you know, before we started investing into that gear, they probably should have done the balance pass before prototype became a thing. But that's a different talking point altogether. I kind of think they should move into the fact that strikers probably should just become the AR build, and therefore just make a few changes to it like LMG has, to give it maybe assault rifle damage and things like that, so that it leans into the AR archetype gun a little bit better. Just how, like I said before, tipping scales leans into LMGs. Then we have Hunter's Fury, maybe make that a little bit better for if you're using an SMG, and so on and so on and so on. Now, MMRs are a little bit different. We have a few sets that are actually pretty good for that. They have really good build diversity. You can build them many different ways. And maybe then lean into things like aces a little bit better for rifles and make them stand out just a little bit better, because they don't have the option of the no-brain set like we do with strikers. And that's just kind of my thought process on it, how they could make very little changes and not necessarily upset the community too much, especially if you put a lot of investment into damn Game Gear sets. Everybody's got a striker set, like they already said. I think he said, what, 27% of the community runs that? That's a lot of the community that you are really going to anger if you mess around too much. And let's not forget, we've been there before with strikers. It has had a nerf in the past. We went there with Heartbreaker as well. Heartbreaker used to be better than strikers, but then it got hit with the stick, and now it's okay. Some people use it sometimes, it does the job, but would you use it over a strikers build? Well, you see yourself nowadays. A lot of people just run all blue strikers builds instead of going to Heartbreaker, because again, it has that point where you want to run the linked laser pointer, and then you can't run gunner, and you kind of nerf yourself in ways that you don't really want to. But that's enough of my thought process. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let's take a look at what the devs said on Reddit. So this was the post here on Reddit by Dispatch. And he said here, so a striker's nerf is on the way. What way do you think the devs should go about it? Just how I've been talking a little bit. And he listed his own ideas here as well. And I'm not sure if they're the same ideas as me. I've not actually read this. It was actually this notification that pinged up because it was from the Division team. And it says here, hello agents. We'd like to clarify something that might be misunderstood from our stream. We don't have any plans to nerf Strikers Battle Gear soon. Here you can find a link, which is what we just watched. What we said during the stream is that we understand that this gear set is an outlier because of both of its power and simplicity. A significant part of our community has strikers as their main build, and we don't have plans to touch this in the near future for PvE. The section had us covering questions from the chat, and we didn't plan to discuss a striker's nerf. We used the opportunity to talk about the meta, and Yannick briefly mentioned options we have for that, including buffing other sets. We will make sure to reinforce this message during our next stream to avoid any misunderstandings. And I think that's probably good. I think obviously that's the danger with the off-the-cuff casual streams, that topics are going to come up that they don't necessarily want to talk about or that they planned to talk about, and maybe it's just on that notice board in the office of things that we'll get to at some point in the future. Let's face it, we've all got one of them lists where them things just keep slipping further and further and further down the list until eventually they probably never happen, or something else just becomes bigger and better. So will they nerf strikers or will they not? I don't know. I'm not sure. I wouldn't like them to. It's been a thing for such a long time now, and it does ruin gear investment. But as Yannick did say as well, and rightfully so, you can't just buff everything else. That's a huge job. There's got to be some kind of middle ground somewhere, and that's why I kind of like the idea of diversity between the sets a little bit, making them very much based on the gun that you are using. Strikers for ARs, just as I mentioned before. That's going to be it for the video, but I can't wait to see what your comments are down below. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and as always agents, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.